Hello crafters, welcome back to Use Your Stash Paper Scraps Edition Season 1. We're up to Challenge 4 and as always the goal is simple, to use what we already have and be intentional with all of these beautiful scrap pieces that have been collecting over the years. In today's challenge, I wanted to look at some of our thicker strips and how we might be able to use them to inspire our color schemes, but also to add some texture in behind a focal point. And I'm inspired by this project here from a 2020 edition of the Stampin' Up! Catalogue. This one here. And this project in particular on page 48. I made a variation of this already here. And I thought what might be fun would be to, I've got all these gorgeous papers here in my purple stash. This is so beautiful. So I thought what might be nice is to use this as inspiration for a floral design for a birthday card or something. I have a new stamp here. This is Gallery Blooms and I really love this. And there's a lot of rich raspberry in here. That's that color there. And when I was doing my coloring, I noticed I had a rich raspberry pencil, a watercolor pencil. And that got me thinking that maybe some of these could inspire some painting. So let's get stamping and see what happens. So the focal panel on my original piece is 6 by 11 centimeters, and that's a nice size for allowing us to have lots of these patterns peeking out of the side. But I thought for this one I might go slightly bigger because this stamp set, this stamp image is a lot bigger. So this one, for those of you playing along at home, is 7 by 12.5. Got Memento Black and I'm going to ink up that stamp. Lovely, that's perfect. So I've got a rich raspberry cardstock here and using inspiration I thought it could be fun to play with some of these purple patterned and papers and see what might work. Now you might notice that the pieces I'm playing with here are not uniform at all, but I'll show you how to fix that. I think something like that might work. Just have to decide which way I want my stripes. Okay, so I think I'm going to work with these here. Now from a proportion point of view, these background pieces were about just over 3.5 by 9 centimeters, give or take. Now you might notice that some of the pieces I pulled out are not long strips, and I'll show you a hack for that when you're working with scrap pieces from your desk. You don't always get a choice around how big they're going to be. So I want them between 3.5 and 4 centimeters. And this one I'm going to chop cleanly in half. And I'm just going to set that aside there. And I'm going to prep the other ones in a similar way. This one I want to go striped rather than long ways. Just going to take off that little fuzzy edge. So I've prepped those pieces there. This one's a bit on the long side, but I really liked that touch of pink because I'm thinking of adding a little pink into my colouring based on those flowers. But I might bring it in just a little bit because that's going to be too wide. In the past, this has had a little bunny cut from it, so we're going to make sure that's nice and hidden in there. And for these other pieces, we're going to stick them to the back of our panel so it looks like it's a full panel. Something like that. When I'm colouring, I like to start with the lighter tones first. In this instance, I think I'm going to start with some Blushing Bride in my petals. I'm applying the colour a little bit haphazardly, but I'm using little circular strokes, and I'm starting very light because you can always build up and add more, but it's very difficult to take colour away. Where the petals sit, shadowed by a petal in front of it, I'm going to add a little darker. I'm going to layer in a little Calypso coral. And I really wanted to have some of this beautiful raspberry colour. I'm just going to go very lightly because I noticed here that the colour comes up just a bit brighter than the background. So I'm going to apply light. A little yellow in the centres. And Old Olive on the leaves here. Again, lightly to start. And then just a little deeper in places along creases where you might expect there to be some shadowing. Now I'm going to apply some water. I've got a jar just off camera. It helps me control how much water I'm using. And it's always a good idea to have tissue on hand if you feel like your project's getting just a little wet, because it's really great for absorbing extra water, especially when you're not working on watercolour papers. If you've done what I've done and just gone over the line a little bit, you can use just a wet brush to blend that out a little. Now I'm going to hit this flower, and it'll be interesting to see how those tones come together. Just working one petal at a time, pushing my brush toward the edge. That's turned out quite pretty. I like the way the colours have all melded together. So I'm going to finish off my water painting with you now, and we'll see how it all comes together as it dries. and just deepen that in some places. I love the little pops of pink and orange that are melding through there, the blending through. But with having such a strong purple base, I really wanted to pull out the purples in this floral. So as I was building this project here, I used a panel. It was originally this blue color, and I decided to go with the crumb cake, the brown on the back. But the pattern that I had in the right size, they were moving in different directions. So I ended up cutting it, and I'll show a picture of that here, what the back looked like. And that's inspired me to help build the background of this one. It just shows you that you can use small scraps. You don't have to have large strips in order to make this work. I'm going to put a little glue down where it's going to be hidden underneath. And position this first strip. Got a little bit in the way. So I'm just lining it up on my card front to help me gauge space. And I think this one I want a little more out to this side. And this as close as possible to the center. Being a liquid glue, I have a little wiggle room, so if I don't quite get it where I want it the first time, I can shuffle it across. Now, because I'm not working with full strips, I have to be a little bit cheeky in how I put these together. So I want to position them where I want them to go. If you've got something lying around with a straight edge, you can use them to help make that line up where you want. And that's going to go underneath like that. And then the one at the bottom's the same. I couldn't find long strips. Oh, actually I really love those words. I was going to go spots, but I really like this paler pattern with the little words. I just have to remember this time to put the words up the right way. I'm really liking how this is coming together. I'm just thinking, I've noticed that there's some blue and I haven't had a chance to incorporate that anywhere else, but I thought I might just do a soft wash through the background using the balmy blue ink. So to do that, I've got some ink squeezed onto the lid of my ink pad, and I'm going to use, I've got some water here. You have to be careful when you're working with these kinds of papers that you don't go too wet, but I like to put a little down, and it really just is going to be the softest wash. So I had some trouble settling on a sentiment. I really like these fonts here in Artfully Layered, and because I'm not making this for anyone in particular. I thought going with something a little bit more generic, a hey there or a for you, a hey friend, might work well. And I spotted this hello here in Hello Fern, and I thought that might be something that worked well. It might be the right size. I played with it here in white on black and just was not loving it. And then I thought, what if I heat embossed it and tried it in reverse? So I've done that. I'll punch it out. See if that works better. I do like that a lot better. I am wondering if I keep it like that, keep it simple, or if it needs a little thread or a bow in behind it. There's already a lot going on with the patterned papers, so I might have a little play with maybe a little white bow and sit it up on dimensionals. I found a couple of options here. I was originally just going to go the white because there was a lot going on, but I came across this scrap piece of twine. I actually really like the little touch of brown. It's really warm and seems to match in with those other tones, and I feel inclined to use that. So I might have a little play with a little bow attached to the back of this and put all the pieces together. I've just put it on tilting to the left, and now I think I'm going to go tilting to the right to fill this space. I really like how that's coming along. I noticed in the original sample and in the first case that I did, I copied that additional bordering. If you can see that there was that extra panel in the same colored paper, and I'm wondering if that might just give this the little extra lift that it needs. So I've got it here. I've got an extra piece that I've cut to be that border panel. I'm actually finding with everything going on, I don't think that I actually need it. I did have this piece pre-cut in my collection, and that's almost card front size, but it's just a touch in, forming a bigger border. So I think I'm going to go in that direction and glue all of that down. And that's challenge 4 of Use Your Stash Paper Scraps edition. Today we explored using those thicker offcuts as layered background texture and letting the scraps guide the colour story instead of fighting them. And if you didn't have larger strips, I showed how we can tackle that in a way that's a little bit sneaky. So it looks like a big strip, but it's really not. It's funny, the scraps really do tell you what direction to go in if you let them. And if you're playing along at home, I'd love to hear what colours your pile is nudging you toward. After making this one, I thought I might make a pink one. And so I'll finish this off camera and I'll share this on my blog with a copy of the sketch. And there's previous challenges if you're just joining us. Some of you might recognize this from challenge 3. I thought I might pull that out and see if I could make a sentiment to go with this lovely color scheme. I'll be back soon with challenge 5, and we'll see if this scrap pile will finally start to shrink. It's not looking good so far. All right, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.